Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Enlevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. And in part brought to you by the United Soybean Board, your soybean checkoff working for you. Powered by Soy Biodiesel later today. I'll make an appearance at the Hancock County Fair. We'll be there all thanks to Nutrient Ag Solutions and the Hancock County Farm Bureau. Always good to get out to county fairs. As we check out other notes, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently identified an instance of a traveler-associated human case of New World screwworm in the United States. The U.S. Department of Agriculture reaffirmed its robust surveillance and trapping strategy, confirming there have been no detections of New World screwworm in U.S. livestock. Under President Trump's leadership, USDA, HHS, CDC, and FDA, and other federal partners have led a robust government-wide response to combat the New World screwworm in Mexico and prepare for all scenarios if it enters the United States. On August 4th, CDC, in coordination with the Maryland Department of Health, investigated a confirmed case of traveler-associated NWS in a patient who returned from travel to El Salvador. As this is a human case, CDC is the lead response agency and is conducting an epidemiological assessment in coordination with local health authorities. Currently, the risk to the public health in the United States from this case is very low. In support of CDC's activities and out of abundance of caution, USDA initiated target surveillance for NWS within a 20-mile radius of the affected area, encompassing portions of the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. To date, all traps results have been negative for NWS. There have been no detections of NWS in the U.S. in livestock or other animals since the last outbreak of NWS in the Florida Keys, and that was resolved in 2017. In June of 25, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced a comprehensive 5-part plan to strengthen the U.S. Department of Agriculture's effort to detect, control, and eliminate New World screwworm, pushing the pest back from Mexico to the biological barrier in eastern Panama. A key part of this plan is trapping along the U.S.-Mexico border to proactively monitor for the pest out of an abundance of caution, and it includes building a domestic sterile fly production and dispersal facility here in the U.S. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Another pleasant day for your midweek forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at the forecast update. We are a little bit warmer today than yesterday, but humidity value staying down. Just an overall beautiful day with sunshine in control and fair weather clouds. We're watching a frontal boundary sag southward out of Ontario through Michigan late this afternoon, evening, and overnight tonight. That front will make its presence known in Ohio through tomorrow, particularly looking at the midday, afternoon, and early evening hours. I'm not going to rule out scattered showers over the region, but I think they're mostly minor. A few hundredths to a few tenths, less than half an inch, I would say, in all areas. And the predominant areas of precipitation are going to be I-70 northward. Then we get into the weekend, the long holiday weekend, Friday through next Monday. And guess what? This frontal boundary is ushering down a reinforcing shot of cool Canadian air. So we are going to be below normal on temperatures all weekend long. A very good opportunity to be outside. Pleasant weather conditions. Then for next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, we see a big shift in temperatures to the upside on southwest flow before another frontal boundary tries to work through the eastern Corn Belt next to Thursday. That one could end up with 80 to 90% coverage across Ohio, with rain totals anywhere from a tenth to 3/4 of an inch. Behind that front, cooler air, not just for the Great Lakes, but all the way into the Central Plains. The week of the 8th, though, looks quite warm. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Let's find out more about an upcoming meeting. Here's Brianna Smith.
Joining me is Tad Nicholson, the Executive Director of Ohio Corn and Wheat. Tad, you have your annual meeting coming up. Can you share a little bit more about that?
This is the first time we've moved our annual meeting from December in conjunction with our board retreat, September the 3rd. That's the date of the annual meeting. And it's going to be at Maumee Bay State Park. All three of our boards will be there, but it's the association's annual meeting, and it's going to be a fantastic agenda. We're so excited to bring in CEOs from three of our national organizations, U.S. Grains Council, the National Corn Growers Association, and U.S. Wheat Associates. So all three of those CEOs are going to be there. Plenty of time to visit with not only our boards, but all of our members that want to show up and to talk with them and ask questions about how they're doing in these national organizations, how Ohio is part of that. Great time for everyone to come, ask lots of questions.
Is this event only open to Ohio Corn and Wheat members?
No, we certainly do invite all of our members to be there. But if you're not a member, I would invite you to come as well. My hope is that you will see some of the great work that we're doing, and you will be anxious to join us at the conclusion of that. Please come, check everything out. We'll hear from our board president, Tyler Dravis, as well as Aaron Wilson, our state climatologist. So always gives a fantastic report on Ohio's weather and our outlooks there. So we'll have a great lineup in addition to lunch and visiting with lots of our corporate sponsors will be there, lots of university folks. So come and enjoy it. It's a great time to be with your fellow farmers.
Where can someone sign up for this event? Where do they register?
You can easily register by going to ohiocornandwheat.org. Just come to our website and you can register right there.
Okay, thank you, Tad. Reporting for Ohio's Country Journal and Ohio AgNet, I'm Brianna Smith.
And thanks, Brianna. Even though the tariff war between the U.S. and China has been extended to November 10th, 2025, the damage has already been done. China has not purchased any new crop soybeans from the U.S., and because of that, farmers will suffer, especially in the northern plains, where their soybeans would head to their local elevator and then bound for the Pacific Northwest for shipment. Northeast Missouri farmer said there is no new crop soybean basis posted for delivery to the Pacific Northwest, and there has not been for months. This time of year, and in years which trade disputes were non-issue, China has typically ordered an average of 14% of its anticipated soybean purchases from the U.S. before soybean harvest begins in the heartland, with a high of 27% ordered going into marketing year 2022-23. Other countries have not made up the difference either, with new crop sales down 81% from the 5-year average, said the American Soybean Association in an August 20th article on their website. Don't forget, as of October 14th, the China Vessel Fee Program is scheduled to start via the USTR 301 program, as announced by the United States Trade Representative Jay O'Neill of H.J. O'Neill Commodity Consulting. He mentioned in his weekly freight update, August 20th, no USTR 301 China Vessel Program updates have been released yet, but global shipping lines are already adjusting their vessel routes and schedules to avoid U.S. port fees. Back with more after this.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals, your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
The Ohio's Country Journal sweepstakes are back. 4 winners will receive a $250 Visa gift card. Subscriptions are still free, but we must have a new request on file from subscribers every 3 years. Come renew or subscribe at the Farm Science Review, and you'll meet that September 20th deadline to be entered. If you've already subscribed since January 1, 2025, you're automatically already entered. Good luck, everyone. Oil future prices settled lower on Tuesday, falling by over $1 and reversing gains recorded during the last 4 trading sessions. The decline was driven by concerns about U.S. monetary policy after President Donald Trump removed Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook on Tuesday. However, Cook had stated that she will not resign. President Trump has also threatened to replace Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, who last Friday signaled a return to interest rate cuts, possibly as early as the next Federal Open Market Committee meeting scheduled for September. The recent exchange of attacks between Russia and Ukraine, which signals continued willingness to reach a ceasefire deal despite recent meetings led by President Trump, is expected to lead to additional sanctions on Russian crude trade. However, future oil prices continued facing downward pressure due to the ongoing trade war and increased output by OPEC plus countries. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. For marketing information of your beans to LDC, call 574-566-2113. For marketing information, here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished mixed on Tuesday. We head into the midweek to try to figure out what way we're going to go. The corn came under pressure as the forecast was a little bit wetter across the Midwest, and there were some other private yield estimates that were released. Record large numbers there. Let's kind of get into what we saw yesterday. Grain futures were mixed. Beans, well, actually every market traded choppily, but we saw the corn and wheat futures move lower as we entered into the end of the day trade. For weeks, the U.S. and Paris wheat futures have led world cash markets to the downside. Now, with world cash wheat markets in retreat, U.S. wheat futures are appearing to be catching a bid. You know, you hear the phrase low prices cure low prices. Well, you get some people in here interested in buying when things get cheap enough. Corn and soybean futures were choppy yesterday. Beans a little bit higher, corn lower amid large U.S. and world supplies. It was noted yesterday that the world corn exporter supplies are forecast to rise 71 to 74 million metric tons this year. The world's corn exporter is well supplied and looking for demand. We're seeing corn and soybean futures sagging here in the United States as of late amid record yield potential. The market's looking for price levels that will build demand as the U.S. storage capacity is tested. No daily sales, no flash reported sales for the second day in a row. Russian FOB wheat was down about to $235 per metric ton, 11% to wheat down to $230 and below. That world wheat market is going to continue to grind lower into mid to late September. Soy oil prices fell sharply. Traders are worrying about the EPA now not reallocating the SREs. That was the talking point after last Friday's news out of the Trump administration. Who knows what it's going to be? And there was also news yesterday that the Trump administration could agree with an Indonesian trade minister to reduce tariffs to zero on imports of cocoa, rubber, and palm oil. That palm oil thing is considered slightly bearish, although palm oil is not eligible for U.S. biofuel credits. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Back with the overnight markets after this. Think biodiesel is just another fuel? Think again. Biodiesel is Ohio innovation on the move. Clean, green, and built to keep diesel engines running strong. It's an engine booster, a soybean supporter, and an environmental champion all in one. Every gallon reduces emissions, strengthens Ohio farms, and powers your ride. Drive with purpose. Choose biodiesel. Learn how at soyohio.org. Today's market is brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Overnight at the open, September corn down 1/4 cent at $3.87 1/4. December up 1/2 at $4.10, and March up 1/2 at $4.27. September soybeans up 3 at $10.31 3/4. November up 3 1/2, trading $10.53. Carry them all the way to May, and you're up 2 1/4 at $10.98 1/2. September wheat unchanged at $5.09 1/2. December up 3/4 at $5.32 1/2, and March up 1/4 cent at $5.49 3/4. In livestock at yesterday's close, August cattle up $2.27 at $242.50. October up $1.37 at $238.20, and December up $1.87 at $239.92. October lean hogs up $2.02, closing $93.42. December up $1.17 at $85.92. Carry them out to February, and you're up 62 cents at $88.12. September feeder cattle up $3.15 at $365.05. October up $3.02 at $363.77. And November feeder cattle up $2.90 at $361.82. That's not a bad-looking board for the overnight. A little bit of green everywhere. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dale Minyo. This is the Ohio AgNet.